So Seth, another topic that we got a lot of questions about, and it's an area of research for us in the veterinary industry as well, is when is a good time to spay or neuter our dogs, and especially our sporting dogs?
Oh, I think that's a great question. And one, as I do a lot of reproduction work, I get that question quite a bit. I feel like there's an answer that we give to the general population and one that's sort of specific to our sporting dogs. I think the research that we have that we're doing now and then looking back at time would suggest that there's a strong benefit to waiting longer in our sporting breeds, and that's for a variety of reasons. I think the most important is that the structural development, so reaching both physical and mental maturity, benefits them both as athletes and as those complicated thinkers that they are, like figuring out the field. Their sort of anxious behaviors are mitigated by being left intact longer.
You know, the other thing to think about, right, for our sporting dogs is the actual hunting season. So when I'm talking to my sporting dog owners, we don't want to spay them, you know, a month before the season's going to start, because it's a stressful event for them, right? They have to go under general anesthesia, things like that. And then coming right out of the season as well, give them a little time to recover from that athletic endurance event that we just had them, you know, with us for, and then think about, you know, the spay or the neuter. Are there any other tips that you give or things that you have the owners think about?
Yeah, sure. Timing is super critical. And I think I'd also advise, having been the person that's doing the surgery and then managing them in the recovery, is that, especially for the female, they tend to do much better as a patient when you try to time that spay in between heat cycles. So a lot of times when you have a heat cycle, it's inconvenient. You'd rather just have this dealt with then. It's actually not a more complicated surgery, but the risk of complication is there.
And I mean, I think another thing too that to think about for these owners who are considering it is what it does to the metabolism of that dog, right? So those hormones are so important in regulating a lot of things, and especially their metabolism. So we know that it does cut their metabolism by about 30% when they get spayed or neutered. So another thing to just think about more from a long-term perspective.
Sure, it's one of those post-surgical things that we don't often talk about when we're bringing them in for that procedure. You know, in fact, there's even, when we're calculating the energy requirements for a dog, is how many calories do they need. The formula we use is different, whether they're intact or whether they're spayed and neutered. It makes a huge difference in metabolism.
For sure. Lots to think about on this topic for each individual dog, and certainly recommend having a conversation with their specific veterinarian about their specific dog to make sure the decision is right for all parties.
Sure. No matter which timing you choose or whether you choose to do it at all, just keep in mind there's a list of benefits and risks, and it's that conversation you should have with your veterinarian as to which you're comfortable with.